So, what do we need to vlog with the Canon EOS R? Well, of course, the Canon EOS R, and we need a good microphone. I use the Rode Video Micro, which is awesome, and I'm using it even right now, like up here. Just a tiny little bit out of frame, but this microphone. I do everything with it. My vlogs and my studio shots. One thing, check the links in the description to see all my gear stuff and things. My gear. Then, we need a mini tripod. For example, the one I use, the Joby GorillaPod 5K. And of course, a good wide lens. I use the 10 to 18 millimeters. With the adapter to be able to use it on the Canon EOS R. Today it's very cold, really cold, and we're in Spain, so we got some churro like here, and it was awesome. Michael, did you like the churros?
Yeah!
Did you like the churros?
Yeah, so much.
But Daddy, look!
What are you eating?
Chupa Chups is hot chocolate.
And you're dipping it in hot chocolate?
Yeah.
Is it good? Man, there's so much wind and it's so cold. By the way, right now I'm using the Canon EOS R with the 10 to 18 millimeters EF-S lens. So it corresponds to a 16 to 28-ish millimeters, something like that. And I'm using an external microphone, the Rode Video Micro, on top with the dead cat. I mean, it's not a dead cat, it's a windscreen. They call it a dead cat. I'm holding the entire thing on a Joby GorillaPod 5K. This lens, the 10 to 18 millimeters, is just great. And I use it all the time, especially for vlogging, because it's really wide. However, while when I use it on the Canon 90D, I can do everything with it, like including my B-rolls. When I use it on the Canon EOS R with the adapter, on the EOS R, when I use this lens, I lose the option to shoot 120 frames per second and also 60 frames per second. They're just disabled. And also its maximum aperture when at 10 millimeters, the equivalent of 16 on full frame, is f4.5, not exactly a fast lens. So that means that it's very, very difficult to get the shallow depth of field. And also at night or in low light situations, it gets a little bit complicated. And this is why when I use the 10 to 18 millimeters on the Canon EOS R, I usually bring with me the RF 35 millimeters, 1.8 or the Nifty 50 for the B-rolls. But what if I want a shallower depth of field, even just a little bit? Or if I want to shoot a B-roll in 60 frames per second or 120 and I want it to be a wide shot, like wide, well then I need another solution. So, if you want to vlog with the Canon EOS R, then what are the options? Well, there are quite a few options. The first one is the 15 to 35 millimeters RF. It's also stabilized, but it's really expensive. In the meantime, I switched to the RF 35 millimeters. So, another option would be the 16 to 35 millimeters f2.8 or the f4 version, which is also stabilized. But these lenses, the 15 to 35 RF f2.8 and the EF 16 to 35 f2.8 or f4 are quite expensive. So if you're not a professional who needs that focal range for professional works, real estate and things like that, if it's just for vlogging, I think these lenses are quite expensive. It would be very difficult to justify that kind of expense just for vlogging. By the way, I'm back to the 10 to 18 millimeters now, as you can probably see. Let's say, even if money is not a problem, the lenses I've just mentioned, the RF 15 to 35 or EF 16 to 35, are really heavy. You might think, yeah, I'm strong, I'm a bodybuilder, and so am I. But I guarantee you that one thing is to do 3-4 sets with a lot of weight of whatever, bench press or curls, whatever. But when you have to hold them balanced in your hand, something like a mini tripod like this, like the Joby Gorilla Pod 5K and the EOS R with a microphone and the 15 to 35 millimeters or 16 to 35 millimeters plus the adapter, well, it's a totally different story. After a while, you'll feel the weight. Canon recently released a new lens, the RF 16 millimeters, which is specifically for the Canon EOS R, R6, R5 and so on. Pretty affordable, I think. It's about $300, which is not bad at all compared to the $1,600 or $2,000 for the EF 16 to 35 or the RF 15 to 35, the price of which goes over $2,000. So the only thing is that it doesn't have stabilization. When it's like a 16 millimeters, it's wide enough, so the shaking are generally not a major issue, but that's the only thing. But other than that, I'm seriously considering this lens, the RF 16 millimeters. Why? Because I will be able to do all the things that I can do with the 10 to 18 millimeters on the Canon 90D, just on the EOS R. So, which one is the best lens for vlogging on the Canon EOS R? Well, if you don't shoot B-rolls in 120 frames per second or 60 frames per second with it, the 10 to 18 millimeters is pretty good. If you want to include the 60 or 120 frames per second B-roll sequences in your vlogs, well then, you can still use the 10 to 18 millimeters and bring along the RF 35 millimeters f1.8 or the Nifty 50 for your B-rolls. But if you're a professional, you shoot landscape or real estate, well then the 15 to 35 millimeters RF f2.8 is for you. Alternatively, the EF 16 to 35 millimeters, either f2.8 or f4 with the adapter for the Canon EOS R. But if you don't need it for your professional works and it's just for vlogging, you don't want to spend a lot of money and you don't want a very heavy lens, consider the new RF 16 millimeters f2.8, and this is what I'm actually doing. I'm considering it. I'll probably buy it sometime soon. By the way, I gotta get going home. 1 second. So what are the options? I would either continue to use what I'm using, the 10-18mm EF-S lens, or I might get the new RF 16mm f2.8. If I get a copy of that lens, you'd be the first ones to know. Alright, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys in the next video.